But we're going to close it out. I know Nelson has something that he has to say before we leave, though. And the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. This rant, I'm going to make this as direct as possible without being mean. I wish that the Anthem demo didn't have the technical problems it had. Not for the fans of Anthem to have a good time. Not so that the hardworking people at BioWare could have their product seen in its proper light, but because I think it had so many technical problems that a large amount of people, not everyone, are overlooking at how unimaginative that game is. That game has, to draw a comparison, one of my favorite games ever is Skate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember Skate?
Yep.
So for people who don't know, Skate was the next iteration of skateboarding games after Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk was super arcadey, and Skate just made controlling the skateboard a dream, right? Just a dream. But on top of that, Skate also was a good game. Anthem, controlling the javelins is a dream, right? You get your freelancer, you get in the javelin, you do your Tony Stark thing, you fly around. This is dope. But it's like if in Skate, all they had was a swimming pool and nothing else. And it's like, well, what do? Well, you go to that swimming pool, you skate around it a bunch of times, and you get a new skateboard, and you go back to that swimming pool, and you skate around a bunch of times. And eventually you get to decide what color the wheels in your skateboard are. You need to design an actual game around this and have character. And if you're BioWare, we're used to you have an excellent story. And I know that's very difficult in an open world game as a service type game. But still, if you just look at the hub, and I hate to do this because my main profession is as an artist, and I don't like to call out other art teams or anything, but it just looks very generic. Mm-hmm. Everything is brown. It looks like some Persian bazaar for some reason, where everybody's dressed in like saris and, tank tops, but you have this technology all over, but there's no obvious reason why. And when I say reason why, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there should be a character telling you, well, we're wearing this because of this and this is here because of that. No, there are tricks that we do in design that visually show you this is an established world and there's a reason even if you don't know it yet, right? I was looking through the screen captures of Destiny actually, and Destiny 2, they have so many crazy environments just the environments where I'm looking at it, I'm like, that looks like a fully established, well thought out world. I'm not going to get into the reasons why that happened. It's all technical, like art direction stuff. But this game is getting away with really great controls on the javelins and the Frostbite engine. And everything else about the game is like literally 100% what you expect with no real new ideas in it. And the combat, the last thing I'm going to say about it, people keep calling this a looter shooter. It's not a looter shooter in the sense that you are not supposed to be shooting your gun the entire time you play. Your gameplay is supposed to be this balance of your powers, comboing with the powers of other people's freelancers or javelins or whatever, and flying around and using mobility, right? In games where those are the things you do, usually the powers are much cooler, the enemies are much cooler, the combos that you do are much cooler. There's essentially so far only one combo in the game, which is you prime it, I detonate it. That's not, as soon as, people are going to be saying this about 2 weeks after the game comes out, if not a week. As soon as the new car smell of running around like Iron Man and this Frostbite engine world wears off, people are going to be talking about how there's nothing to do. And the reason they're going to be talking about that is not just because of the activities themselves, not just because of the mission structure themselves, but because the thing that people are saying that's so great, the combat, only one side of the combat is great. Your side. I just came off of Spider-Man, which is an action game where you do throw projectiles and you do fly around a whole lot. And you know what's challenging about Spider-Man? How the enemies behave. You know what I mean? And Anthem does not bring that to the table. And I really think that this is an example of corporations coming in and taking the imagination and creativity out of something and just trying to do what they think makes money to create a quote-unquote new IP. And for that, Anthem is already, I know it's early and maybe we'll see more, but from a structural standpoint, I was very, very disappointed in the Anthem demo.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I just it didn't it to me it lacked an it factor. It just it I mean everything. The colors look muted. The action itself, the satisfaction of firing any of the weapons just didn't feel good. The impact of the projectiles or the weapons or the bullets or whatever hitting whatever the target is just didn't feel like something that gives you that keep playing it kind of a feel. And and that those are things that are hard to kind of put into words and say this is this or this is I'm missing this, I'm missing that. But it's kind of one of them things, you know it when you see it, or you know it when you don't see it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I felt, man. It really felt like something that's really been blown up to be such this huge title, this huge release, arguably the biggest release in February, arguably the biggest release of the first quarter. And it just, I wasn't blown away. I didn't hate it, like oh my
Yeah.
God, the worst game ever, but it just didn't feel special. And it to me, it was presented as something that should be special.
And when you say didn't hate it, when I say what I say about the game, this is not to say that it's a quote unquote bad game. I think it will become a bad game either when you don't have the kind of friends to play with, or you've done everything. Then it'll be something that you're only doing as a chore, that you're really bored but you don't want to fall behind. And for those people, it'll be a bad game. Overall, the graphics aren't bad. I mean, the graphics are good. It's just I think the art style is holding the graphics back a little bit. It's everything is kind of generic, but it's not a bad game. It's just a game that's gonna be solid. And from a company as special as BioWare has been, I know they've had a lot of talent turnover. I've come to and for a game that's been in development for a while and it's got a big old budget behind it and they're really pushing real hard, like you said, I really would hope for special. And we've gotten a lot of special games in recent memory. You know, Spider-Man and Red Dead and God of War and on and on and on. And, you know, this game is, people think it's going to be a big success just because of how big it is and Destiny and all this other stuff. But I think this could be the, what is that game called? I'm not going to remember the name of it now, but the game that came out next to Overwatch, if you're in the comment sections, you know what I'm talking about, where it was the MOBA game from the company Gearbox that makes Borderlands.
Okay.
And it came out at the wrong time because it came out when Overwatch was coming out, and it also came out when everybody had decided we're playing Dota and League of Legends. That's it. We don't need another one of these kinds of games. And I think that in the case of Anthem, it could be that. Or you could say Titanfall was also that, where people are saying, I already play The Division, which I know has already had its year of growing pains and done massive improvements. They can say, I'm already down with Destiny. They're free from Activision, and now I want to see what Bungie does. I already play Warframe. It's free. And I think this could be the kid standing in musical chairs and actually do worse than people think it's going to do.
Yeah, I could imagine that. I definitely could imagine that happening. We'll see what happens once that full version comes out. I believe it's February 22nd is when it comes out. So we'll see. They definitely have some work to do because they definitely had some feedback from people after the demo. But that'll wrap it up for us today, this first episode on the new channel. I appreciate everybody who migrated over, appreciate anybody's efforts to share these episodes. And we will be back next week. And also, if you, as usual, if you miss or can't sit through the entire show, they always come through in segments. And so you'll be able to watch those throughout the week leading up to next week's show. But as usual, I appreciate you watching as always. From my man, Nelson Blake, peace.